Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF 44 coming at you with another video. I just woke up out of a pretty disturbing dream, and it kind of prompted me to do a therapy session because I know that what that dream represented was something that maybe some other people might be going through or may feel or something like that. But make a long story short, I was at some type of job, looked like some type of work where you prep food or something like that, some type of catering service maybe. I'm not certain. Restaurant, looked like the inside of a Marie Callender's or something like that. I'm not really sure. Combination of a bunch of stuff. You know how dreams can go. Things don't quite make sense, but they do in the dream. And a couple of my siblings walked in. The younger ones that I love dearly, and everything was pretty normal. Hanging out with them, for some reason, I guess they were coming in to be customers, but were able to kind of have access to certain places in this restaurant where I was, like behind the scenes stuff like that. And everything's cool. One of them was not there. The youngest one wasn't there yet. I guess she was coming or on the way or not on her way. I wasn't really sure, but that makes sense later, I guess. I guess I go on a lunch break, and one of my siblings was there with me. We went to like a grocery store or something, to get some type of lunch or something, grab something from a grocery store or whatever. And the youngest one walked in, the youngest sibling that I have, and when I went to greet her, she kind of stood off of me, didn't give me a hug, and I exploded. I exploded on her like I never would in real life, like I don't feel in my heart. And the thing about it is, like, it's one of those situations where it's like I felt abandoned, like I didn't have love. And for something like that, it just brings you to a place where you understand, not that I would ever be angry at her, but more so the flip side of that. My energy and what I'm about, how I am, makes it so that I don't reach out to people that I love very much. And that comes with something. That comes with a lack of comfort or lack of understanding, or whatever comes when you're silent. You know what I'm saying? When you have people that you love, that you don't talk to, just because you know why you're staying away, or just because you know what's in your heart for those people, does not mean that they're not going through something, or that they didn't need you in a time where you weren't even considering what they were thinking or weren't present. And it was so much hurt in my heart when I went off on her for not greeting me properly. I don't know what that was, but it was like, I don't feel that in real life, to be completely honest with you. I don't feel that. I'm perfectly fine with my siblings and my family. In my mind, in my heart, I didn't think that I was feeling my own hurt when I said that. Maybe I was picking up on something that, you know what I mean, maybe felt on her end. I don't know. Without saying too much, she's made it very clear to a lot of us that she doesn't feel happy with us, and has kept her distance for reasons of her own. And I respect that and won't go any further, because that's her business, and I haven't had a conversation with her lately to know how she feels. But if she would ever see this, she needs to know how much I care about her, and how much I love her, and how much she's needed. All of my siblings are needed in my life. And I don't feel any anger for anybody that I love who's not present, because I feel like a lot of my loved ones stay to themselves or away from me, because that's the energy I've created with my distance. That's who I've been toward them, distant. But I just want people to understand that your silence speaks as well as your words. Being away from people, you don't know how much of a blessing you can be to people that you love, just by sending them a text message. My cousin's been, as I think I mentioned in the previous therapy session, one of my cousins from Oakland's been reaching out. I wasn't really sure what was going on, but I guess it's in his heart to just reach out, because every day he's been sending me a text every morning. You know what I mean? Just strength emojis, and just letting me know that he's present. And it mean everything to me, because I've been distant. I don't know if there's ever been a moment where he said, man, I could use the energy that my cousin provides on a hard day, and I just wasn't there. You know what I mean? And I guess in my dream, I wanted so bad to be embraced by my sister because all the feelings I feel, you know. But who knows how she feel? What if she uncomfortable, you know, because of my distance, she may not feel like she know me very well. Maybe there were days where she could have used conversation from me and I wasn't there. Maybe there were days where she needed to connect with somebody and she felt abandoned. You know what I mean? I don't know that. I'm just using her as an example because she was in the video, or excuse me, in the dream. Sorry. Because she was in the dream, I'm using her as an example. But what I'm saying to you is this. It was so much pain in my heart when she didn't embrace me that I said things that could have caused more pain in the dream than whatever it was I was feeling. But it was so much hurt, you know what I mean? Like so much sadness. Like I can't believe you're gonna embarrass me in front of all these people. Not that any of them knew the dynamic, mind you. You could have been a stranger. Nobody knows me. No one cares. But the point was I was so self-absorbed in how I felt that I allowed my pain to explode out in such a way that was absolutely ridiculous and disrespectful and not something that I would actually do. I just wanted to make it clear that I understand that I've been distanced from people, and maybe you've been distant from some people that you love, and there may be something that comes with that, whether it be a deep rooted pain that makes you distant. Maybe they did something, maybe they didn't. Maybe you did something you're ashamed of, you don't want to be in their presence or whatever. But your time is limited on this earth. And if you love people as much as, you know, I love my family, then it's something that you'll love to have given them. Your time. It's something that can kind of disarm any notion that you don't care or any notion that they don't care. When you get into their lives, even if it's just a text, even if it's just an email, even if it's just you FaceTime them once or twice a week, what's appropriate, you know what I mean? And some people in some people's lives, you just can't, you know what I mean? And this won't apply. Some people you have to love from a very far, you know, a real far. And some people, you know what I mean? You may misconstrue what that's about. They may be growing while you thinking it's best to be distant. Maybe it's time to get back in their lives. You know, maybe it's the tides have turned and suddenly they're someone you need. But you never know that because you're still playing them distant. I don't know what's going on in my baby sister's life. I'm not sure if she would want me to reach out. I don't know. All of my siblings and friends and family, this applies to everybody. Trust you me, it does. But especially with people that you have interesting energy with, energy that may not be as beautiful as it used to be, or circumstances where it ain't all rosy. You know what I mean? It's best to at least understand that you being away may not necessarily be what's best for not only them, but for yourself. You know? I got love for my family. I don't think I know everybody as much as I should, but for whom I do and for as much as I do, there's a great deal of love there. And I just wanted to kind of get on here and say whatever I was feeling in that dream, whether it was my own feelings or something that I was picking up on, or just something that was relevant so that I'd have something to say here, I don't know. But this dream hit so hard, and it lingered. Like I didn't wake up after doing that. I really didn't. I stayed asleep. The dream continued, and I was just dazed. After I blew up at her, she did not really, she didn't, I didn't stick around to see her reaction. I said what I had to say with a very loud voice and stormed out of there and walked down the street without everybody. I left everybody else, which is the bigger part of it. Everybody who came with me, I left them. I left them in the grocery store. I left, and I guess whatever the situation was, this might be relevant for those who understand dreams. I don't. But the shoes that I had on, they were just too big. It seemed like the shoes I was wearing just became so uncomfortable. It's like Vans, if you guys know those. But imagine Vans that you're wearing that just grow 3 or 4 sizes too big at random. And I had to take them off. And I'm walking down the street. Now the street was very, very familiar. It was almost like I was walking down Beverly Boulevard, somewhere near the Beverly Center. So for whatever that's worth. But I had taken off my shoes and I had huge sagging pants that I wouldn't even wear in 2022. But the socks that I was wearing, I was just walking on my socks, walking down the street for blocks and blocks and blocks, just in a daze, just feeling so much. It was like, I don't know, man. But usually when I have dreams like this, it means something, And I understand that my sister specifically, she's got some things that she has to probably work through with the family, and I'm a part of that. I don't know if there's some subconscious resentment that's being built from the distance and the lack of communication. I don't believe there is. I'm feeling fine. But at the same time, it was so much anger, so much hurt. You know what I mean? Like real hurt. And it just brought me to understanding that maybe I caused that within someone else with my distance, or maybe you might have caused that with someone else with your distance, or maybe someone's feeling that way because they don't communicate with you no more, or whatever. Maybe this don't apply to you at all, but it just brought me to understanding that distance can create resentment if you allow it, depending on who it is and the circumstance. And when it's somebody that you love as much as I care about my sisters and my brothers, I could just only imagine that might be the thing. Maybe they see me and not want to embrace me. Maybe they see me and cuss me out for not being there. And all I can do is take that because I wasn't there. You see what I'm saying? Maybe it's none of that at all, but that's where it brought me. I know how I am in my isolation. And I've said this in my camera several times, that I don't mean no harm as it pertains to the people that I love. Friends, family, associates that may have been cool, real cool, that I just don't reach out no more. That's just me. That's how I've always been. That's the reality of my world, so to speak. The reality of how I grew up allowed me to keep my interactions with people at a minimum. My mother and I, we didn't have friends over too often when I was growing up. We didn't live in a neighborhood with a bunch of kids, a bunch of people. You know what I mean? That wasn't my world. So it allowed me to be a certain level of distant just by default. Distance that a lot of people ain't never going to relate to. And that's okay. You know what I mean? I was looking at something on TV today. Not on TV, on here. It was random. It was a bunch of fighting going on in the neighborhood. But they, it was like a apartment complex. A lot of black people live, normal stuff for a lot of people. But for me, I was like, I've never, ever lived in a complex where everybody runs out of the house, comes together, be wherever they at, together, interact however they do, whether it's fighting or love, barbecuing. Like, that's so normal for a lot of people. And I'm telling you, I don't know nothing about that. When I grew up in Hollywood, we had neighbors we never met. It was the lady who lived behind us, the door behind us. I may have seen her a couple times, seen her dog. We didn't talk. People live across the street. You may see certain people you see across the street, say hi once in a while, but it was quiet. Wasn't no kids on the block. Wasn't no activities on the block. It was a Hollywood. It wasn't quite the Hollywood Hills, quote unquote, because it was, it was a combination of both in a strange way. Living where I lived, it was like, in order to get up to the street, you go through a tunnel, and in that tunnel, you see nothing but graffiti, homeless people be in that tunnel. So it wasn't quite the Hollywood Hills, but if you kept going up the streets for, enough of them blocks go further into the hills, you get to where the ritzy stuff is. I remember seeing one of the dudes from Black Eyed Peas walking down there meditating around the corner up the block from where I was at in one of those hills. So it's a combination of both, really. It's like where this poverty and wealth meet, strangely enough. That's how Hollywood is, though, but it's not important. The point is to give you an understanding of what type of lifestyle I grew up, in terms of my neighborhood. It wasn't nothing going on there. So it allowed for me to be distant from people. It allowed for me to not grow up having people I was, seeing every day in the neighborhood, that sort of thing. So I guess in that environment, it raised me to be distant with everybody. How we were with our lifestyle, we would just not really do too much. We would go to people's houses on a regular basis, and I would go to boys and girls club, which is also known as the children's club where I was at. That would give me my interaction with kids. That would give me my interaction with people. But other than that, wasn't a lot of family around. Most of my family lived in either up north in the Bay Area or out of state, basically. A lot of people in Pasadena on my dad's side, of whom I've gotten to know as I've gotten older. But at that time, it wasn't much interaction because it was just me and my mom. So, I said all that to say, I kind of wish I were different, I would love to see that if I were to have a family, they live in a situation where they're not as distant from their family and people that they love, or be so comfortable being distant with people. I recognize that my mother had people that she talked to every day that she grew up around, and her lifestyle growing up wasn't like mine. So it was different because even though she was in that household, in that environment with me, she had people and memories and practices of being present in people's lives that carried over. So I would watch her be on the phone with different people every day, all the time. But myself, I wasn't from that because I was growing up in this that I described. And I think as much love as in our household, it made for comfort and isolation that I don't think is all that great. Now that I think about dreams such as this, and I want to know that everybody that I care about is fine, but I don't have the practice of reaching out. I guess that's what I'm saying. I want to make sure that the energy that I felt in that dream doesn't exist, but I don't know that it's in my nature to create it so that it's not. If my little sister sees this, I would want her to know that she's loved, regardless if she if she didn't want to hug me or whatever. If she did, there's no problem. There's no reason for her to feel like I would actually blow up at her for no reason whatsoever. There's nothing in my heart that feels that way at all. None of my siblings or loved ones at all. Nor do I feel like if they blew up at me that it would create something that makes me feel like I deserve any different. Because at the end of the day, I don't think I've been that great of a big brother. I don't think I've been that great of a friend because of my isolation and distance and being all in my head all the dang time. Maybe she needs something from me. Maybe she doesn't. But that I haven't been available to find out. It's my fault. I created that, I believe. Or maybe, if I'm being objective, we created that together by being distant with one another. I always want to leave room for stuff so it doesn't seem like I'm either taking on too much accountability or placing any blame on anybody else. But the truth of the matter is, I don't think I would have changed anything because this is what comes naturally to me. And I think, if I'm being real, my sister reached out to me more so than I've reached out to her. And I could have done a much better job. But at the end of the day, man, I just want everybody to understand my point of view is this. Just because it's natural for me to be this way doesn't mean that I think that's okay. No different than some type of sin that I can't shake off. You want to be close to the people you love, and you want to have interaction energy. Whether it's good or bad, you want it to be because you've been present, not because someone devised in their mind something about you because you haven't been present. Or silence being something they take in a certain way, and now they believe you're having a conversation through that silence that maybe you're not even having. I want my family to know that they can always be in themselves around me. My loved ones, I want them to know that they can always be themselves without me. If for some reason they see me again and don't feel like I'm a part of whatever it is they got going on. Though I may desire to be embraced for whatever reason, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm deserving of such. I think at the end of the day, it's important that we all just make sure we know people we stay away from, or the people that we love and don't talk to, or the people we spend most of our time away from. Keyword time, which is limited. Just make sure they understand what's going on with you. You know, I've gone through some of the worst times, as you guys know. Maybe the people I've stayed away from could have been a solution or a help to that. Maybe if I would have allowed them to know what was going on, maybe they could have helped me. You know, this same sister that I'm referring to was the one who was in tune with me in such a way. I told you guys this in one of my therapy sessions, I believe, but when I was feeling my worst and I felt like ending my life, she called me and asked me if I had been feeling like that and told me not to. And she was the reason that kind of shook me off from thinking that way at that time. It's that same sister. My same sister that brought me to my father. You reunited me with my dad. The last 2 times I was able to spend with him was because she arranged it. You know, this is one of the most important people in my world, man. So whatever it is that I got going on in myself that's keeping me distant from her, or whatever it is she's feeling that's keeping her distant from us, I would love to put an end to that. Because I know for a fact, regardless of what we're feeling, we're family and we need one another. That's what I've learned in this dream. How much she's needed. So I just want to put that out there. And so that's what I got, man. I don't think I want to get into specifics of people's names and stuff like that. None of your business. Why people will stay away from each other. None of your business. But what I can tell you, it's my business to change my distance. And I got unconditional love for the people that I'm referring to in this video. And I hope that whatever this dream was about doesn't truly reflect anything within myself that I haven't tapped into, because that is not right. The truth of the matter is, she don't have to embrace me. She don't have to, oh my God, I'm so happy to see you with me. She don't have to do that. Would it be nice if everybody did that when they see me? Sure. If they love me, I'd love that. But my distance has made it so that it's acceptable for them to feel that I'm a stranger. That's how distant I've been. And there's no way to prove what's in your heart. You can't tear your heart open and give it to somebody and let them know what's going on with it. But I can tell you this. If I thought it would save her life, I'd do that. That very thing. My name is BDF 44. I thank y'all for watching. I'm out.